Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has closed several border crossings with Colombia, deployed thousands of troops, and deported some 1,400 Colombians in a crackdown on smuggling and crime. The United Nations says another 15,000 people have fled the border voluntarily, many crossing a river with only what they can carry on their backs. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos says Venezuela's actions have resulted in a humanitarian crisis. This is not the first time that relations between Venezuela and Colombia have dramatically deteriorated. In 2010, the two countries briefly broke off diplomatic relations. We begin with this report from CCTV's Stephen Gibbs in Caracas.
The Venezuelan-Colombian border in 2009. Then, as now, these were tense times. President Hugo Chavez had even told his countrymen to prepare for war. In this city, the Venezuelan army was hunting for Colombian paramilitaries accused of murdering 2 soldiers. Colombians living in Venezuela felt caught in the middle.
For
them, we are all paramilitary gangs. They think we want to do them harm, but they're wrong. We just want to work. Our relations with our Venezuelan friends are very good.
Hugo Chavez was angry that Colombia had signed a military cooperation agreement with his longtime nemesis, the United States. Colombia's President Uribe, meanwhile, said Chavez was allowing leftist rebels to operate from a safe haven in Venezuela. In July 2010, the Venezuelan president, alongside the Argentine football star Diego Maradona, announced he was suspending diplomatic relations with Colombia. Just like his successor, Nicolas Maduro, he was at pains to stress that he had nothing against the people of Colombia.
This is regrettable because I hold Colombia close to my heart. I feel Colombian.
The diplomatic break was in fact short-lived. The following month, a new president, Juan Santos, was sworn in Colombia. And 3 days later, diplomatic ties were restored. But as a reminder that friendships in politics can be fleeting, it's President Santos that's now the focus of much of the current anger of the Venezuelan leadership.
The relationship between these two countries has long been more about friendship than conflict. They are, for example, both currently cooperating in the Colombian peace process. A lot is at stake if this dispute worsens. Stephen Gibbs, CCTV, Caracas.
For the latest on the border crisis between Venezuela and Colombia, we turn now to CCTV's Begue in Bogota. And Michelle, the Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos is asking Venezuela to open that border for humanitarian reasons. What kind of a response has there been to that request?
Yes, well, there is a border crossing open right now. In fact, you're saying the humanitarian border crossing as the Colombians do. They've requested a humanitarian crossing. The Venezuelans say this is just a border crossing. There's no humanitarian crisis going on right now. But on September 4th, President Nicolas Maduro gave the order to allow for medicine purposes, workers and students to be able to cross the border between Venezuela and Colombia. 1,000 Colombian students have benefited from this, and the Colombian government says another 800 workers have also been able to go to Venezuela and continue their daily routines thanks to this border crossing.
Now, both the Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro as well as President Juan Manuel Santos of Colombia have expressed an interest in a face-to-face meeting. What do we know about those efforts to get these two leaders together?
It's supposed to happen next week. That is what people are saying, and it's supposed to be mediated by Uruguay. However, there's a lot of tension leading up to this, even just in the last hours. It all starts when President Santos says he's putting down 3 conditions for the two to meet. The first being this border crossing. Secondly, that the Colombian migrants be treated with human dignity. And lastly, he also wants to make sure that the Colombians who have been deported have an opportunity to go back to Venezuela and get their belongings. After this, the Venezuelan president responds by opening this border crossing, as we have said. However, just days later, he closes down another border crossing between these two countries. This, obviously, the Colombian government is offended by. President Santos gave a national address on Wednesday. He said that he was done with this clowning around. He used very strong words. He said that he would not be provoked. And he said that there are no assassination attempts against Maduro, as Maduro is claiming. He says that any problems with the Bolivarian revolution are done by themselves, that they are self-destructing. Then hours later, Nicolas Maduro says that he is very offended by these words by President Santos, but that there's still going to be a meeting next week. And he says that they're going to sign an accord that's going to be called the Peace, Coexistence, and Respect Accord between the two sister nations. But still, we're seeing a lot of cross words between these two presidents. There's still no confirmation as to an exact place or time, so it's still up in the air. We'll have to keep monitoring to see what happens in the next week.
And what has happened to the thousands of Colombians who have fled Venezuela? Do they hope that they will be able to return someday?
Well, what the Colombians are really saying in the border is that they want to get their things back. We know that 15,000 Colombians have fled. The 1,300 that were deported had to go very quickly. A lot of them left everything that they owned back in Venezuela. And the Colombian government has said that what they want is to have trucks available so that the Venezuelan government can give the okay and the Colombian government can go in with these trucks and help the families recuperate their belongings. That's what a lot of people are talking about. They're not necessarily saying they want to go back to Venezuela. The Colombian government is also concentrating on reuniting families. What we need to understand is that this border had a very porous relationship. A lot of Colombians and Venezuelans moved freely between the border, sometimes without passports, just their IDs. Many of them have Colombian, Venezuelan families, and the Colombian government has said that they're going to try to also help 400 of these Colombians who are now on the Colombian side get back together with their spouses, children who are Venezuelan. The Colombian government is offering Colombian citizenship to these Venezuelan families so they can be reunited.
Thanks, Michelle. That's CCTV's Michelle Begue reporting from Bogota.